She taught LGBTQ curriculum in her class. How many of those students are excelling in that classroom? Is everybody in that class getting A's in math, English, grammar, social studies? That we can dedicate 3 days a week to teach 8-year-olds about sexual orientation? I don't care what kind of sex is being discussed. The word sexuality, nudity, does not belong in the ears in a classroom of 8-year-old kids. And when a parent showed their concern, what does this teacher do? Completely disregards and goes behind the parent's back trying to find ways of how to continue these lesson plans. If you guys want to talk about including all, listening to all, every student matters, our kids matter too. And we don't want those subjects being taught to children who are just 8 years old.
Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button. And if you're returning, welcome back. I truly do appreciate your continued support on my channel, and I hope that you are subscribed as well. Now, before we get into today's video, I just want to say that I truly do mean it when I say I appreciate your continued support on my channel. I have not been as consistent in posting videos as I would like to be, but just a little bit about me. I am a full-time mom. I have a full-time job. I have a part-time business. I'm a part-time content creator and a part-time writer, and it just makes it a little bit difficult to get videos out as quickly as I would like. Not to mention, my husband, of course, is a full-time dad. He also works full-time and he does all of my editing. So there are weeks when it's really easy to get videos out and things just seem to fall into place, and other weeks where we are both just so completely exhausted that we just have to put it off. And I honestly, for the sake of my mental health, I have to take the pressure off of myself to feel like I need to constantly be putting content out there and just take it at the pace that I am able to. So again, I do appreciate you coming back when I am able to get something up, because I do appreciate the conversations that we have about the subjects that I bring to light and that I feel are important to discuss. So that being said, the conversation surrounding banned books continues. Of course, we know that there are virtually no books being banned. In fact, there are 0 books being banned. Of course, when people use the word banned now due to the government-run public uneducation system, which has created an entire society of uneducated people who don't know the actual meaning of words and can therefore be easily manipulated into believing that a word means whatever they're told that it means, despite the fact that the meaning they now believe is 100% false. These people actually believe that not allowing children to have access to every kind of material out there because it's not appropriate for their age or it's just not appropriate for the school setting means banned. Despite the fact that all that has happened is that some of these books have been pulled from public school libraries, but they are still widely available across the internet. They're on hundreds of book selling sites, including audio versions, so you don't have to feel bad about the fact that the government-run public uneducation system didn't teach you to read properly, and that no one is demanding by law that these books cannot be sold or printed anymore, that nobody's going after the authors, and nobody is criminalizing the content that is in them or imprisoning people for possessing this material, which is the actual definition of banning books. These people still keep saying that what is happening now is the same as the book banning and burnings of the 1930s, which it's not even close, and that is a total lie. And what's even more concerning is the fact that the people that push this completely false narrative the most are teachers, the people that are actually in charge of teaching words to other people, yet they don't know the meaning of the words at all and are among the most easy to manipulate in today's society, which means the goal of the government-run public uneducation system has been successful in turning out an entire generation that can be easily controlled and who will promote whatever they're told because they don't know anything. So they can be told that not allowing children to access certain kinds of material while they're in school means banned, and the government uneducated people will believe it, and then they share the lie for them. So one of these geniuses pushing this completely false narrative comes out of DeWitt, Michigan, and she is a first grade teacher in that state. By the way, if you want your child to come out of this school with any sort of actual education, I highly suggest you pull them from it and put them in either a charter or a private school, and by second grade, they'll have far surpassed the academic ability of this woman. She posted a video directly encouraging teachers to read banned books, though anyone with a shred of intelligence knows that these books are not banned. Some of the books that she is promoting include teaching children that they can be born in the wrong body, that they can be trans, books about choosing your own pronouns, which is not a thing, and books that tell kids that they just need to start obsessing about their gender identity. So let's see what she is sharing here. Okay, first of all, just right off the bat, not all picture books are created equal. And I know that, you know that, she knows that, we all know that. Just because a book has pictures in it does not make it appropriate for kids, clearly. And just because a book is made for kids doesn't mean that it's appropriate for the classroom. I mean, if I were to ask this person, is every book with pictures in it appropriate for kids? She'd probably say no, at least she should. And if she says yes, then she really should be fired. But she probably would say no, revealing the fact that she actually understands that there is appropriate material for kids and there is inappropriate material for kids. And then when she acknowledges that, she has to actually acknowledge that boundaries matter. And then the whole position just completely falls apart. So clearly that is just a completely ridiculous argument. And if they've had to be removed several times, not banned, but just removed, that means that people like this are the problem. That means that these books are inappropriate. And it's people like this who are far more concerned about their political activism than considering what is actually best for children. And they keep putting these books in front of kids, and that makes it so that we have to keep going back and put our foot down. If you just do your job and focus on academics instead of activism, we wouldn't have to keep going in circles. It's you that's the problem, not us. Few of the books that she showed here because she just keeps flipping books through the whole video and they all essentially have a lot of the same theme. Here is the first book that she showed, Pride, the story of Harvey Milk and the rainbow flag, and looks like it's still completely available on Amazon. No printing has been stopped. Nobody's trying to arrest Rob Sanders or Steve Salerno as the author or illustrators. And if as a parent you feel that this is a beneficial book for your child, then buy it for them. Read it to them every single day and every single night if you want to. But parents are sick and tired of having this pride nonsense shoved down our throats at every possible turn. And if you think it's just a book, clearly you and I both know that that's 100% false, and that by saying that, you are gaslighting us. It started with, it's just a book, and now we're at a point where there's pride flags all over the walls in our schools. There's parades, pride events, and drag queen story hours. These harmless books is where it started, to the point where now you believe in laws that allow teachers to keep secrets about our own kids from us. Clearly, as this teacher is demonstrating, where you feel that you have more authority over how children are raised than their own parents do. So this is not just a book, and this is not completely harmless. And it's how we end up with people pushing messages like this.
Let's talk about parental rights for a second, because it's become evident that it's being used currently in this fight against queer people, and especially queer kids, who need more protections than ever before. Like in Saskatchewan and in the US, parental rights are being used to thwart any rights of autonomy that the kid might have. And I'm sorry, but kids do have autonomy. We've already established this. For example, if a kid needs a blood transfusion and the parents don't want to, it's not the parent's right to refuse that blood transfusion for that kid because it is life-saving.
First of all, it's a typical trans activist or just far left activist tactic in general to find the most far-fetched, far-reaching, uncommon scenario that 99% of the population is never going to have to deal with. And even then, the 99% of the 0.01% of people who do have to face that situation would make the right decision for the safety of their kid and use it as justification as to why 99% of parents shouldn't have a say in the upbringing of their own child. And by the way, any parent who denies a life-saving blood transfusion for their kid is making a decision based on their allegiance to an ideology over the well-being of their kids. So just like a parent who allows their kid to medically damage their body in the name of gender. So you actually just discredited your own argument in saying that it's not okay to cause permanent harm to your child based on a belief system. Anyway, it's not just about books, it's not just about pronouns, it's not just about names, and none of it is harmless. We know that, you know that, the teachers know that, and these these activists know that. And then there's the book I Am Jazz, which is still completely available to purchase if that's what you would like. But let's be honest about what this book is, because this book is a 100% lie. Jazz was born a boy, and as a very young child, he told his parents he wanted to be a girl, and that's it. Jazz was now a girl. Fast forward like 15 years, Jazz has had countless medical procedures and surgeries. He's been on hormones and puberty blockers for most of his life, and he is never going to be able to take any of that back or go back to the body he would have had he not started on those things as a young child. He has experienced severe side effects and complications throughout his life as a repeat medical patient who will now never be able to maintain this identity without lifelong visits to the doctor and the hospital, and has had numerous mental health breakdowns where he's talked about never feeling like himself, dealing with depression and anxiety, and not being able to get out of his own head. But of course, this story isn't going to tell kids about all of that. It's just going to push this dangerous lie on them that they can pick whether or not they want to be a boy or a girl, and it's just as simple as picking an outfit, and they're going to be perfectly happy. And these children, because they are vulnerable and easy to manipulate, are just going to think that it's just this easy, happy, euphoric, beautiful thing, and they're not going to know about all of the things that this person has experienced afterwards, and none of these teachers are going to fill them in on that. But of course, your storybook isn't going to tell kids about all of that. It's going to push this dangerous lie onto children that they can pick whether or not they want to be a boy or a girl as easy as they can pick their favorite outfit, and they're going to be just as happy. And these children are vulnerable and easy to manipulate, as is the nature of children, and as these first grade teachers are well aware of, yet they don't care that this book is leading these kids down a dangerous path. Because again, this is all about you as an activist. This has nothing to do with the well-being of kids. And when you're reading this stuff to them, you don't care about what happens to them as long as you get to do what you want, because your political position is what matters the most. And then there's this one that says, and Tango makes 3. Again, you can purchase it whenever you want to and read it as often as you would like. And what is this book about? Well, according to a clearly well-informed individual in the review section, it says, I recently bought a shirt that says I'm with the band and has 17 book titles on it. I've read 9 of them, so now I'm working through the rest. I went ahead and knocked this one out because it took me literally 5 minutes. It's a children's book about 2 male penguins named Roy and CeeLo who live at the Central Park Zoo and are in love. They do everything like the other penguin couples, but they couldn't make an egg. Another couple had an extra egg that they couldn't take care of, so the zookeeper gave that egg to Roy and CeeLo. They cared for the egg and became parents to Tango, and the family of 3 lived happily ever after. It's absurd to me that this book is banned. Gay couples exist and can be just as loving as straight ones. This book is sweet, and I love that it promotes that all kinds of loving families can exist. If I had a child, I would read it to them at bedtime. You know, I had a lot of ideas about what I would and would not do before I had kids, and that completely changed when I realized that's not all about me. But nobody, literally nobody, is trying to say that gay people don't exist. Well, this guy's trying to say that, but nobody else is trying to say that. What's creepy is that you need validation from children for your existence. Kids do not need to know about your sexual orientation to accept you. Children are naturally accepting, so don't play games. Making sure people know of the existence of gay couples is not the goal here. You know that, and I know that. The goal is to override what most kids are probably being exposed to at home, a family with a mom and a dad, and minimize the idea that households with parents that are the opposite sex are the relationships that benefit kids the most to be raised with. The agenda is to eradicate this idea of traditional families and teach kids that it really doesn't matter who raises children, that essentially anything goes. And this person clearly doesn't care about the hundreds of years of research data and evidence that proves that kids being raised by a mother and a father, I mean an actual mother and a father, not like one who's a biological man or one who's a biological man pretending to be a woman, but an actual mother and father, have by far the best outcomes and the most psychological stability. But you don't care about normalizing the idea that the relationships of their parents doesn't matter and will actually harm children, because again, the most important thing is activism and the agenda. It has nothing to do with caring about what's best for kids. These people do not care about anyone but themselves. And the baby tree was another one that she held up, which is basically sex ed for children, and the recommended ages for this book is ages 2 to 5. If you want to get this book for your child because you are their parent and you are the authority figure in their life who gets to decide when these conversations are appropriate for them because they're yours and you know and love them far more than anyone else in the world could ever even come close to, especially Miss First Grade Teacher here, that is perfectly fine. Because I understand the need to have materials accessible to parents that help them with these conversations because they can be really difficult and awkward to have. And I am 100% okay with that. The idea is not to keep these conversations with children or because Christian conservative parents are prudish and don't want to talk about sex with their kids. It's the fact that we as their parents know when they're ready for it. And those conversations are our job and they're in our role and our authority, and they have nothing to do with their teachers. As I said, most of the books that she posts here kind of have that similar theme where teachers feel that it is their job and their responsibility to have conversations about sexuality with our kids and to do it behind our backs when we say, no, that's not okay, that's not your job, and that's not appropriate. And then if we say we don't want these books just within the school setting, we're called hateful bigots. But when they continue to disregard what parents want, which is just to be able to send our kids to school to get an actual education, they provide further evidence as to why our kids are failing and they are suffering so much, why their test scores are plummeting, why they can't read or write properly. Because activism has become the priority, not the kids' future, not their well-being, not their success, but these teachers' activism and their own selfish desires and their political agenda. And I hope that this teacher loses her job. I really, truly do. And any parent who feels that this is a legitimate method for teaching inclusivity and wants to rely on teachers reading their children these kind of books in order to teach those kind of lessons, ultimately, you are failing as a parent. At the end of the day, this has nothing to do with teaching inclusivity and love and compassion and all of these pretty things. This is about abolishing parental rights, and not just in education, but this is the path toward abolishing parental rights, period.
There's no such thing as someone else's child. No such thing as someone else's child. Our nation's children are all our children.
I would love to know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Please like this video. It helps me in the algorithm. I appreciate you supporting my channel. Hit that little thanks button and make a small donation if you feel like supporting me in that way. Check out the description box for other ways that you can support the channel and follow me on other platforms and social media. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one.